How cost effective is this system versus the old system?
Well, really it would depend on your tenants. I mean, cost effective in a few ways. One, it uses electricity much more efficiently. It can save you thousands and thousands of dollars worth of violations because specifically in the city of New York, there's a law on the books that says the car has to stop within a quarter inch of the floor. With a mechanical operation like we spoke about earlier, that's just physically not possible anymore. The city has taken to, and some of the outer boroughs as well, to fine companies, management companies and buildings specifically for not having the cars meet all the codes as they come due. Well, an old elevator system really can't meet the code as it's written on the book. So, can it save you money? It can save you a lot of money.
How much would a system like this cost?
Well, it's not just this, because you also would have to put the wiring into the shaftway. But to completely modernize your control system, you're looking on the low end, somewhere around $25,000 to $28,000, up to about $60,000. Because generally, when you replace this, there are other components that you want to replace along with it. The magnetic shafts and the vanes, for one, have to be installed. You might want to adjust that brake that's been stopping hard for many years. Still, it's much more cost effective than ripping the entire system out and putting in new. So, can it cost more than that? Yes, it really depends on how sophisticated and how tall the building is.
How many control panels does this particular system have?
Well, each individual elevator has its own brain, if you will, which I think of the controller as sort of the brains of the operation. What will happen though is as you're modernizing your building, there may be other things that you need to do. What happens is if you have a system like this, you're covered by the code that was in effect at the time when this controller was installed. Something like this, just looking at it off the top of my head, would probably be 1950s. If you modernize your elevator, you're also going to have to make some changes internally to it. For example, the handicap requirements that came out in 1990. We would need to lower the center point of the call station, basically the buttons that you press, to 42 inches to make it convenient for handicapped personnel. Other things that you may find that you're going to need to change is you may need to put in braille signage on your car station panel. You may want to put security cameras in. So there's some upgrades that we would have to have on the control board to be able to handle the coax cable that you're going to need to run any camera system that you have.
How many units does this particular system here operate?
This particular control system will operate up to 35-story buildings. It's not really specific to the controller itself. In other words, it really doesn't mind because this stack, you can put in a second stack to run more floors. So there's really not an issue there as far as your control system. It will handle pretty much any size apartment house. It's just the amount of cable and magnetic vanes you need to have in the shaftway will obviously increase, and that will increase your cost.
What type of contract would award request after modernization has been done?
Well, that's a multi-tiered question because sometimes in the modernization itself, there may be clauses where the elevator company is going to maintain the elevator, have a maintenance contract, a full maintenance contract on the parts and equipment right after the work is complete. That's good on multiple levels, and at least for that first year, I would recommend that you stay with the company that did the work because all these devices have warranties. Specifically this one. I mean, as you can see with all the circuitry here, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. These boards alone, individual boards like this, can run as much as $1,500 to $2,000 to replace. So if the company that you decide to go with doesn't have that, doesn't have that guarantee from the manufacturer of the control system, then you're looking at a very expensive repair on something that you just put in brand new. So I always would recommend a full maintenance contract. That's not just the elevator man and me talking. It's that you're completely covered. You don't have a lot of costs that are outside of what you would expect, other than vandalism per se, and then you would go after the person who actually did the damage. But in a good building where you know your tenants, and you're not going to have any problems down the line, I would say you have a full maintenance contract and you have a fixed cost in your head every month what it's going to cost you, and then you can use your money for other improvements.
To install a new system like this in a building?
Well, obviously everything's contingent on how many other things that you're doing at the same time. And if you're just going to go basically with a straightforward controller, perhaps replace your motor or clean your motor out, it should take the elevator company somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks if you go with the standard modernization and you're not doing too many different things like replacing the cab work and other, anything other than just the fixtures. But 5 weeks is a pretty good time frame to work from, and the elevator companies, if they want to bring in, maybe a second team, if you need to cut that time down, that's something that you can negotiate when you do the contract.